I have a correction to make. Would you believe I actually made a mistake? When I said early voting started tomorrow, it starts at the county office, not at the supervisor's office. They're in separate buildings. So if you want to vote tomorrow, this is our last panel for today. Now, as you know, it's called a primary election, which means that one of the elections we're going to have is a primary. This particular panel is the Democratic primary. Could I ask you please to take it outside if you want to talk or sit down? Mr. Chalmers, thank you. I'm sure he did that when he was a professor, right? Now, Florida is a closed primary state, which means that if you wish to vote in the Democratic primary, you must be a registered Democrat. If you wish to vote in the Republican primary, you must be a registered Republican. Now, when you get your ballot, you will see other primary races. In other words, there are statewide Democratic primary races and statewide Republican primary races. Here, we only deal with local races, which at this particular time is the County Commission Democratic primary. The winner of this race will be on the ballot in November, so you have lots of voting to do. Now, we're gone from the ethereal, pure election of the school board. Now we're going to get down to nitty-gritty politics, which I love. And so there's no one better to moderate this than Judge Harvey Goldstein.
Thank you, Barbara. Good afternoon, and welcome to our final panel of the afternoon. This is the Democratic primary for District 2 of the County Commission, as you just heard. This particular election is only for registered Democrats. The winner of the election will be on the ballot in November, and there are two candidates who are seated in front of you today, Mr. Jack Donovan and Lee Pinkinson. The format will be as follows. Each candidate will have 1 minute for an opening statement, 2 minutes to answer each question, and 1 minute for a closing statement. Candidates, be aware of the timekeepers in the front row, Ms. Robinson here. These questions have been prepared by the Voters Service Team of the League of Women Voters. We will begin with the opening statement from Mr. Donovan.
Thank you very much. Jack Donovan, running for County Commission. I'm a city commissioner at Gainesville in my 6th year. I'm a progressive Democrat, the only candidate who's been a Democrat for more than 10 years. Believe the public sector role is to build the common good so that all can thrive. I'm pastor of Highlands Presbyterian Church. I've been pastor of McIntosh Presbyterian Church. I've served as a hospice chaplain, and I have been the pastor of the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship in Gainesville. Believe in community building. That has been my life's work. And I know our community well. I've been part of the Community Coalition for Older Adults, Habitat for Humanity Board, Action Network Board, Partnership for Strong Families Board, Planned Parenthood Board, United Nations Board, Food Bank Board, part of the founding board, and I co-chair the 10-year plan to end homelessness. Thank you very much. Hope you vote for me.
Mr. Pinkinson.
Thank y'all very much. Thank the League of Women Voters, but I especially want to thank the sound man because he is my son, and Jack, I promise he won't do anything to screw you up when you're talking. I've lived here all my life. I was born and raised here. I ran a business here for 31 years. I worked at or ran a business for 31 years. Pretty much my adult life, I've been trying to make a difference in the community, as evidenced by sponsoring the Wooden Barrel Program and building a house for Habitat for Humanity. But my primary focus has been children. And over the course of the last 2 or 3 decades, I've been involved in raising funds for the Southeast Boys and Girls Club for their computer lab, and then later their teen center. During the course of building the Habitat House, I had the pleasure of mentoring 3 young men, and still do since, actually it's been 14 years, and I'm still involved in their life. I was a champion for the Success by 6 for the United Way for the county, and I read every week at Lake Forest, and I can see the difference. You can see the difference in when children aren't prepared. Look forward to the questions.
Thank you. The first question goes to you, Mr. Pinkinson. The Alachua County Charter Review Commission recently voted to put 6 proposed amendments to the county charter on the November ballot. One amendment would change the Board of County Commissioners to a Board of Charter Commissioners. Do you support this proposal? Why or why not?
I believe our function's probably going to be the same as I understand it. I haven't done the research on the actual implications of that amendment. But we have certain duties as laid out by the state. I don't believe those duties are going to change any if our title changes. Quite frankly, this was debated by the members of the Charter Review Commission. They're going to put it to the ballot, and the whole intent of the charter review every 10 years is to see what kind of government the people want. So as far as what happens with the charter review and this particular question, it's going to go to the people. The people are going to vote for it, and we'll deal with it. You know, our title may change, but our duties will essentially remain the same.
Thank you. I think the key issue is what will make the commission most responsive to the citizenry, and likewise what will keep it working at top speed or at giving its fullest effort. It may be that we would be more responsive under a charter system. We would have to vote on our own salaries, for example, and that might make us more responsive to citizens. There are some citizens that feel the price tag in the 70,000s is too much. As a city commissioner working at 30,000, I think that's way too little. We work pretty much full time, and so that's a problem. So, but I think making the commission vote on its own salary is an interesting way to make it responsive to the citizenry. So if the citizens vote in that direction, I'll be happy with that.
Mr. Donovan, you get the next question. As development in the county grows, how would you propose to balance environmental preservation, quality of life, and traffic congestion with new development?
We have a choice as to where to locate our new development. That choice has a huge impact. The county commission, if you ask yourself, have things gotten better in any of these dimensions over the last 8 years, I think most of us would say no. The county commission vote has been directing development into the green spaces, into the rural areas, into the unincorporated areas. It doesn't matter if it's called our urban cluster, it's still rural and green. I would do everything I could to change that, and I think I could be the third vote to change the direction of that development into the municipalities, which gives us greater value for our development and which saves our natural resources, water and farmland in particular, and which builds a stronger community because you won't have a migration outward of the more well-to-do people. They will remain part of the community, still have great lives, a more vital cultural life, a more vital civil life, and they will become advocates for better schools for everybody, for more social services so that kids don't end up in, as the NAACP says, the pipeline from schools to prison. And I would add prison or maternity rooms in their teen years. I think there's a lot we can do to change the direction of that the county commission has been following, and I would like to be the third vote that makes that difference.
Thank you. Mr. Pinkinson, as development in the county grows, how would you propose to balance environmental preservation, quality of life, and traffic congestion with new development?
The county commission has already addressed that through its comprehensive plan, and what the county has done, matter of fact, 5 years ago, the county has come up with a carefully delineated area that where it wants growth to take place over the next 20 years. And in that area is the only place that we want growth to take place, and we've gone to great lengths to preserve our agricultural and natural areas that are outside in the unincorporated area. We haven't deviated that in 5 years. And what we have done as far as our growth patterns, what we have tried to do is come up, you have certain ability to do things on your property as far as residential, and what we have tried to do is take the larger segments of property and come up with a plan that will include commercial as well as residential, because if we don't do that, what happens is you get little developments of all residential. And if we can get these, and quite frankly, this will either be our legacy or our boondoggle, but what we are doing is concentrating the growth in a certain area so that it will be commercial as well as residential. And by doing it that way, we hope that we will confine many of the trips into that area of development. And we have to be somewhat visionary, because if whatever plan, ultimately most of the property that we'll be talking will become part of some municipality. Most likely it will be the city of Gainesville. But if we don't plan correctly, come up with a grid network that we are trying to incorporate into our plan, then what happens is you have some of the hodgepodge with the traffic issues that you have here now. We are trying to create enough density in these areas where we can have multimodal transportation, effective multimodal transportation, so that we can have a bus system that will run from these developments to the University of Florida, so we can get some trips off there. Thank you very much. Off the roads.
Mr. Pinkinson, you get the next question, too. What are your ideas for balancing the county's budget and providing necessary services to our citizens, specifically police and fire protection?
As far as the budget is concerned, we are mandated by the state to have a balanced budget. So every year as we go through this process, we do in fact have a balanced budget. As far as what's happened in the last 2 years, we have unfortunately the revenues haven't been there, and we have had to go through the process of figuring out what services we want to supply and minimize the impact to the citizens. As far as fire and police, those are two areas that are fundamental functions of government, and we have to, we need for them to be as efficient with the dollar as possible. And if there is one area that we probably, above all, have to consider increases, if there is to be an increase, it's in those areas. As we recently experienced going through the fire budget, the fire MSTU, where we had to go between the fire assessments, which didn't do, or raise the millage rate. And our alternative was that if we didn't increase the millage rate, we were going to have to take a unit off the road. And quite frankly, I wasn't prepared to do that because that's a public safety issue. The budget will continue to be an issue this year. As most of y'all may have read, we're still $1 million short, and we're trying to figure out what services we're going to have to cut and yet still provide essential services to the people in the county.